Hi, my name is Tom. I had some thoughts that I thought might be relevant to some of the things that a lot of people are going through, possibly you. And among those thoughts, much of my attention and a lot of the things that I'm working with, and as I'm spending time with people with appropriate social distancing and so on, is the fact that people are afraid. And fear is a normal response. It's a very natural human experience. And it comes out of a lot of sources inside of us, and in particular, a feeling perhaps of being out of control and the unknown of the future and that sort of thing. And if you think about it, even the fear of the unknown and what's in store for us and feeling out of control, in part have something to do with the fact that we're concerned about potential harm and the need that we have sometimes to control our situation to avoid what harm we can and so forth. And right now, a lot of people are feeling powerless, and as a result of that, lack of a sense of power and maybe even a lack of confidence in others and the things that we've tended to put our trust in, we're experiencing a really big surge of fear. Now, we can feel fear at other times, of course, and fear actually is an appropriate response a lot of the time. If I've burned my finger, I'm going to be afraid of putting my hand to a hot pan again, and so it's natural. If I've trusted somebody and they've disappointed me and hurt me or even betrayed me, it will be natural for me to be afraid to put my trust in that person again. And a lot of the people we've put our trust in terms of government and providers and that sort of thing, it's we're feeling their limits a lot right now, and because we feel their limits, their inability to manage everything and control our environment and keep us completely safe, we feel afraid. Now, we have to remember that the people who are in charge and the people we depend on and so forth, they're human too, and this is a new experience for them. And if we're honest, we'll probably find that more often than not that they feel fear too. But fear isn't. It doesn't need to grow, and we don't need to feed it and let it control us. And a long time ago, I was in the Middle East, and I was with a friend named John, and we were in the desert. And John, he'd spent many years there, and so he was familiar with the place we were and so forth. We were away from civilization, and we were hiking actually, and we came across what he said was a jackal den. And sure enough, there was like a very small cave, and in front of the cave there were a pile of bones of a camel, he told me. And John said, this is very interesting. He said, would you like to go in? And I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, John got down on his hands and knees and he crawled into the cave. And I thought, crazy thought, I wonder when I'll have another opportunity to experience a jackal den. So I got down on my hands and knees and I followed him. But he had gotten ahead of me a little bit. And it wasn't just a little shallow cave. And by the way, I just want to say, too, it's not a good idea to just go climbing into caves and so forth. But John had a lot of experience with this sort of thing and knew it was safe. But I didn't know it, really. I had some confidence in John. I'd gotten to know his character a little bit. Or I wouldn't have done what I did do, and that was to follow him. And I got down on my hands and knees, and I crawled into that little cave. And I found that it was more of a tunnel, actually. And so I began to kind of crawl through it and so forth. And it was a lot longer than I expected it to be, and it was very dark. And it got to a point where I couldn't actually be up on my hands and knees anymore. I actually had to be on my stomach, and I had to kind of crawl through. And I began to panic. The darkness was overwhelming to me, and I began to imagine things like snakes and scorpions and that sort of thing. And it really, really surged up inside of me. And I kind of caught myself. Fortunately, I was blessed with this thought that the person who had gone before me had not only did he know what he was doing, he evidently had gotten through because I hadn't met him yet, and if he had been attacked by scorpions or snakes or something, likely he would have already let me know that somehow. And so I found some confidence and encouragement in knowing that he got through it somehow. And so I felt calmer, and I began to continue on my way. And sure enough, I came out into the light again. And life is a lot like that sometimes. We feel we're in a dark place, and we feel like there's not much room to move. We can't go back. We're imagining all kinds of fearful things that might attack us from unseen places and so forth. But we find that if we continue, if we press on, that we will come out in the light again. And I want you to take some encouragement from that. You and I are in a place that, truth be told, we're not very familiar with the experience, and we're trying to figure things out. But we'll find that we have a lot of people we can depend on and connect with, and who'll help us find our way if we're feeling lost. And we don't need to let fear control us. In fact, we don't need to let fear be in the position where we're feeding it. And I suggest you just be careful what you pay attention to. And you can get too much media. You can get too much news even. And find ways to feed courage in yourself. Read positive books. And if you're a person of faith, turn to the writings and the people who were involved in that, and to the one who made you, and just know that there's going to be a moment when you come out into the light, and you can look back and think, wow, look what I made it through, and find a sense of victory in that. That's what you have to look forward to. So fear doesn't need to be in control, and you're going to get through it, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to come out into the light. God bless you.